How we doing, guys? And it's finished. Brentford 1, Arsenal 1. My word. What a tough game that was. And I'm not going to sit here being doom and gloom or anything like that. I'll take the point and move. You're playing one of the informed sides in the Premier League, a very tough team to play against. And at the end of the day, when you pull it into context, it's a point and you move on. You know, we can afford a few draws in our run. That's one of them. You know, what you have to do is back it up within the next game with wins. And you have to go on a bit of a run. And I look at it and I say to myself, okay, we got Wolves on Wednesday night. It's a standalone, Premier League fixture. It's the game that we would have been playing on the weekend of the Carabao Cup final, which is obviously why we're playing it. Now, the reason why Man City are not playing is because their game is against Crystal Palace. Now, in midweek, Crystal Palace are in that Conference League competition, and that can't get moved. So, Crystal Palace and Man City game, nobody knows when that game will be. There is no free midweek to fill it in at the moment. It could be right towards the end of the season. And psychologically, that could be very beneficial for us. Because as long as you go and do the job against Wolves, you move 7 clear of Man City. They will always have that game in hand and can, narrow it down to 4. But for the next few weeks, maybe the next month or so at least, they won't ever be able to claw that back with that game in hand until it's played. It's not like a normal weekend where, the team plays first and 24 hours you can respond, and you've got to sit there and just wait. And who knows what happens in other games as we move along. If we play before Man City, for example, in a game, and that 7-point lead then becomes a 10-point lead, Man City then have to go into their game and respond and win because it's double digits. So listen, at the end of the day, as long as you don't lose, then you can take that and you can move on. If we went and drew the game against Wolves, for example, with all due respect to them, you'd be fuming. That'd be a game you look at and you say, nah, nothing but a win. But you're looking at Brentford, who are an unbelievably good side. Physical. And my word, they put us under pressure. And the long throws were just absolutely ridiculous. They took me back to the Rory Delap days. And listen, all of those people that moan about set pieces, that moan about how they're ruining the game when it comes to Arsenal, I bet they're not moaning now. I bet they're not moaning because it went against Arsenal tonight. I bet there's no questions about the surrounding of David Raya in the same way there is, when we surround the goalkeeper. So, listen, at the end of the day, I look at it and I think to myself, we go 1-0 up. We get undone by that set piece. I think the biggest frustration for me is that at 1-0, we have that opportunity where Declan Rice goes through. Just shoot. Just shoot. 2-0, the game's over. And then at 1-1, we weather the storm, we break. Martinelli gets that chance at the end. Why are you taking a touch? You don't have the luxury of taking a touch because the goalkeeper is going to be at your feet. You take that first time and it's a goal. But listen, at the end of the day, we probably didn't deserve it. A draw is probably a fair result on reflection. And it's just a very tough place to go. And listen, like I said, I'm not losing my head over this because I'm old enough to have been around in many title races. And what I will say to those of you that have not been in a title race is that there's going to be ups and downs, twists and turns. The emotions are going to be all over the place. I can go back to my very first title I watched Arsenal win in 1989. We knew that we were going to be playing Liverpool on the final game of the season. We were then playing Derby County and Wimbledon at Highbury for the 2 games before we went to Liverpool. And we looked at those games and we're like, easy wins. Easy wins. And then we'll go to Anfield and we might not even have to win the league. We'll just take care of these 2 games. No drama, no problems. We lose to Derby and we drew 2-2 to Wimbledon. My word, if social media was around then. So I've seen it. I've seen it all, the battles with Manchester United over the years and winning the league at Old Trafford and winning the league at White Hart Lane. And I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. I've been on the side where you're overjoyed and elated and you've won the league. And I've also been on the side where you've thrown it away. But we're nowhere near that position yet. 4 points clear as we're going towards what? The end of February. We got the FA Cup at the weekend. And like I said, the important one now for us, because that FA Cup game, everybody's going to get rested. All the main players are going to get rested. But you got that standalone game against Wolves, and I cannot emphasize how important that game is. I cannot emphasize it. Because as I've already alluded to, you win that, it's 7 points. And Man City can't close that 7-point gap until they play their game in hand. And if they continue with playing, Champions League football, and if Crystal Palace, get through, their games in this Conference League and everything, then I don't know when there's going to be a free midweek game. It could end up being right at the end of the season. You remember a couple of years ago, Man City had a game in hand for ages and ages and ages. And it was ironically against Spurs. And it ended up being, I think it was before literally the last game of the season. That literally was the only time that they could put the game. So psychologically, it could be a very big thing. But you have to go and do the job. You have to go and beat Wolves. If you go and beat Wolves, then it sets you up nicely. And then you look at some of Man City's games and they've got to go to Ellen Road. Tough place to go. I know we made it look easy, but it's a tough place to go. Newcastle, who knows what Newcastle turn up, although I think it's probably come at the right time for Man City, given the fact that Newcastle are playing Champions League qualifiers and whatnot. But listen, the Premier League, it's unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. When you look at Man City at Spurs the other week, if you watched that first 45 minutes between Man City and Spurs, and you switched off at half-time, didn't watch the game, and someone said to you later on that evening that the game finished 2-2, you would immediately say that they're lying. That there was absolutely no way that game could have finished 2-2. But it's the unpredictability of the Premier League. You never know what's going to happen. So I'd like to see some teams, give Man City a bit of a tougher game, unlike Fulham, who treated it like some kind of pre-season friendly. And, you put that into comparison in the way that Brentford played against us, and it's mad, isn't it? But I think my biggest frustration at the moment with everything that's going on is that, Rodri is allowed to come out and basically call the match officials corrupt. There's no retrospective action. There's no punishment. And then in the resulting games after, Man City are all of a sudden getting decisions go their way that's making you go, You look at the game against Fulham, the Phil Foden incident. Where's the difference between that and the Xavi Simons red card that he got against Liverpool for the foul on Van Dijk? Identical. One's a red, one's not. You look at Bernardo Silva, the tackle that he made against Liverpool at the weekend. How reckless was that tackle? No intention to play the ball. Miles Lewis-Skelly got sent off for a lot less than that. Consistency. Mark Guy, how is that not a red card for a professional foul? All this talk there was a covering defender. In what world? What? Has he got stretchy legs? Is he like Inspector Gadget? Go, Gadget legs. Like, go away. Go away. Seriously. But listen, at the end of the day, it's a point. We move. It's as simple as that. We got Wigan at the weekend. Loads of changes. Players are going to need a rest. Jurriën Timber in particular, I thought he looked knackered by the end of the game. I thought that should have been a substitution that Mikel Arteta made. But yeah, listen, at the end of the day, it's a point. It's a point. And it's better than nothing, you know, and it could be important because it takes you that one over rather than a goal difference. So you lose the game, it's 3 points, and then it's just goal difference between you and Man City. So at least that keeps you ahead, and that can be enough. So end of the day, it's a point, we move. It's as simple as that. And we get ready for the FA Cup game against Wigan. Simple. So there we go. That is it. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you agree or disagree? And of course, if you're new around there, hit the subscribe button, smash a like on this video, and I will see you lot very soon. I'm out of here.